What do you want?
I'm sorry. I really am sorry.
Really doesn't matter now, does it?
I said I'm sorry. Can't you forgive me?
No.
Please. Gloria, please.
Go away. Get out.
Figures to be. All my life, I've always spoiled the things that meant the most to me. All my life.
I really don't care. I just want you to get out of here.
Gloria, please, can't you understand? If only you could know alone with us, I feel.
I didn't even know you had any feelings.
Oh, you foolish girl. I'm mad about you. I want to get you out of here. I'll set you up right. I'll be your slave for the rest of my life.
Nothing. You couldn't do anything for me.
Please. All right, don't forgive me. Just tolerate me. And let me suffer knowing how you feel.
Can't you get it, Vinny? To me, you're just an old man. You smell bad.
A modern-day remake of Matthew Vaughn's Lay a Kick. A Coen brothers end up with Timothy Chalamet. A Citizen Kane prequel, a Midnight Cowboy sequel. Alvin and the Chipmunks deserve another squeakquel. There's so many new ways to revisit Sideways, but a graphic novel is how we choose to update. But we still hold fast, you can't change the past on the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
On our last episode featuring a movie beginning with the letter K, we explored the 1971 paranoia thriller Klute, directed by Alan J. Pakula and starring the terrific talents of Donald Sutherland and Jane Fonda. Klute tells the story of a New York sex worker who is being hunted by a dangerous paramour and an investigator trying to get her out of the city. Jane Fonda's acting career has spanned 7 decades and includes over 50 feature films and over a dozen television roles. Other Jane Fonda films that this very podcast has covered include Cat Ballou, Barefoot in the Park, and 9 to 5, though Jane Fonda is also remembered for her roles in Barbarella, Coming Home, On Golden Pond, and Georgia Rule. The 2007 film Georgia Rule also stars Lindsay Lohan, Felicity Huffman, Dermot Mulroney, Garrett Hedlund, Carrie Elways, and probably Hector Elizondo because it was directed by Elizondo's BFF, screen legend Gary Marshall. Though he is probably best known for creating television shows Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, and Mork and Mindy, Marshall directed 18 feature films and acted in a total of 48, the final of which was a voice role in the 2015 direct-to-video animated comedic mystery Scooby-Doo and Kiss, Rock and Roll Mystery, which features the Mystery Incorporated gang paired with rock and roll sensations, the band Kiss. Formed in 1973 by Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, and Gene Simmons, Kiss took the world by storm, shocking everyone with their outlandish face paint and onstage theatrics. Between 1974 and 2012, Kiss released 20 studio albums, 13 live albums, and 14 compilations, which include Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, Greatest Kiss, and 1982's Killers. Kiss's Killers was released outside of the US and features 4 newly released songs, I Am a Legend Tonight, Down on Your Knees, Nowhere to Run, and Partners in Crime. And although it bears a similar name, Kiss's Killers should not be mistaken for this episode's film. Greetings, Starfighters. This is Ruined Childhoods, and on this episode we celebrate Stanley Kubrick's sophomore effort, 1955's Killer's Kiss, the story of a dancer who is being controlled by a dangerous paramour and a boxer who is trying to get her out of the city. Dan, you are, I'd say, like, for me, the first person who I knew who was, like, a big Kubrick fan.
Yeah.
How does this stack up in your Kubrick rankings? I know we're just like launching into it, so here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, how does it stack up in my Kubrick rankings? So interesting question, because this is the first time I've watched it I want to say that this is one of the movies that I was rented via Netflix in 1999 when I first subscribed to Netflix. So, I'll go into some lore, some Dan lore here. I won a DVD player from WPLJ 95.5 in New York City. And I won a DVD player with a radio call-in contest. And I went and what came with the DVD player was a copy of Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery.
Cool.
On DVD.
Great movie.
coupon, a mail-in coupon to get a free copy of Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Got it.
And I still have both of these DVDs. They're in the room with me right now.
So you mailed in the coupon. You didn't just keep the coupon and you followed through.
I followed through. Oh no, I totally followed through. And it also came with a trial subscription to this new thing called Netflix.
I was going to say, because 99 would have been really early to be on board with Netflix.
And unfortunately, I think that at a certain point when I was like cutting any unnecessary expenses, I think I like totally canceled my Netflix like membership. So I don't know that I could tell you. I'm sure if I wanted to find out, I could contact the right people and find out like what was my original like because I think Netflix started subscriptions in 98.
Okay.
But yeah, this was fall 99. And and what I loved about Netflix was that they had things that I could not get at Blockbuster or even the Blockbuster alternatives.
Right.
So there was, and being a Stanley Kubrick nut from the age of 14 going on 15, because the first Kubrick movie, I may have at some point seen The Shining beforehand and not necessarily like clocked it as like, oh, this is a Kubrick film, but it was A Clockwork Orange that really locked me in. And, probably won't let my kid see that movie. Either of them see that movie when they're at that age, but hey,
I can't imagine at least your older child being, enticed at all to seek that one out.
No, not at all. Not at all. And yeah, my younger
The other
child
one is too soon to tell.
Should go nowhere near that movie anytime soon. So, but anyway, to get back to the point, I'm sure that I know The Killing was among I'm pretty sure I remember getting the DVDs for the Killing. I may have gotten Fear and Desire, which was Kubrick's
the first one
feature.
Yeah.
This being his second. But I do have a fairly good memory of getting Killer's Kiss and really not having that much of an impression, though having already seen, by the time I saw this, having already seen A Clockwork Orange, I imagine I saw 2001.
Yeah.
By that point, probably Barry Lyndon.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I didn't even know what to make of Barry Lyndon. I had more of a sense of what to make of 2001 than I did of Barry Lyndon the first time I saw it. But we're not talking. I'm going to stay on point here. So it ranks. My Kubrick rankings have definitely shifted. In some ways, I would say like The Shining has definitely gained the most ground for me.
Yeah. Well, and if for anybody who's watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, you'll see right behind Dan, there's a 2001 A Space Odyssey poster, which when you look at a movie like Killer's Kiss or even The Killing, and then you think about a movie like 2001 A Space Odyssey, you're just like, wow, this person really, go with the theme of 2001 A Space Odyssey, really evolved.
And the more resources he had, the more he did with them. So anyway, I guess, John, to answer your question, I don't know that I can answer your question. The Kubrick filmography isn't even that long, which is funny.
I'm not asking you for a full ranking.
No, I know you're not. But to make another point here is, in some of our recent episodes, we've talked about directors like Steven Soderbergh and Ridley Scott, who just pump out movie after movie after movie. In the time it takes Kubrick to shoot a scene, Ridley Scott puts out 3 movies,
pretty much. Yeah.
But
that was not the case for Killer's Kiss and possibly also The Killing. I mean,
no.
And definitely Fear and Desire, where he was like super scrappy.
Yeah.
And, definitely changed quite a bit, probably starting with like Spartacus
Well,
becoming, a more, Hollywood big motion picture filmmaker.
Well, yeah. And to kind of speak to his evolution as a filmmaker, Spartacus also gives him the freedom to move away from Hollywood, moves to England, and just has so much more independence and control over his process. And that's when he starts.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of chart the paths between Stanley Kubrick and also Orson Welles, who also, fled to do things overseas and kind of to kind of get away from the Hollywood system, and kind of where that led them both.
A lot of
talk about another director who in the time that Ridley Scott makes 20 movies has probably shot one scene. Orson Welles would be one of them.
Yeah. Wells definitely falls, I think, somewhere closer to Kubrick on that spectrum. But Kubrick's filmography is, let me just run it down. So we've got Fear and Desire starting in 52. I'm not going to do the year for each one. Fear and Desire, Killer's Kiss, The Killing, which is his first Hollywood movie, Paths of Glory, Spartacus, Lolita, Dr. Strangelove. Then I think you have the shift where up until this point, I think Kubrick is pretty mainstream accessible. And then he does 2001. And I feel like that's where maybe as someone who's a Kubrick fan, that's where I'm like, okay, I understand how you might be like, oh, okay, I don't know where he's going, but it's not my trip. I guess more literally for some people with that movie, with its legacy. And then Clockwork Orange is like kind of the real loyalty test. No kidding. I'd say Clockwork Orange and Barry Lyndon are the loyalty test. It's kind of like,
right, yeah.
It's like, all right, if you made it through Clockwork Orange and then you follow up Barry Lyndon and you're like, I want to see more from Stanley Kubrick, you're in. Even if you're like me watching Barry Lyndon and you're like 15 and you're like, this is 3 hours of I don't know what the hell is going on. Why is Ryan O'Neal in this friggin' movie?
That's one that I haven't seen probably since the early days of Netflix for myself, and it's one that I want to check out again, and I just haven't had the opportunity, and I don't know. I need to do that.
John, I'm gonna check this out right now, but it is the 50th anniversary of Barry Lyndon, and I'm pretty sure there are some screenings that are coming up, and I'm sure, in a city like Portland, Oregon, you could probably find a place that's going to show the Barry Lyndon.
I'll look into that. Because that was 75.
The 4K.
But it's also, but to what you were saying, for anybody who's just like, okay, now I've bought in to Stanley Kubrick. Unfortunately, you've only got 3 movies left if you don't count AI.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, which Stanley Kubrick didn't direct AI. I know AI is totally inspired by his intentions and his work.
Right. Well, he started, and then after he passed, it was, ushered along by Spielberg.
And Spielberg, an acolyte of Kubrick's.
Yeah.
Which as was Tom Cruise, and which drew why Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman I would say sacrificed quite a bit to make Eyes Wide Shut, the only Stanley Kubrick film I have seen in the cinema, by the way, is Eyes Wide Shut.
Well, yeah, you would have been too you Oh wait, do you mean like on its first run, or
no,
do you mean
period.
At all?
I still have not seen, and a couple of years ago, I want to say, like, I probably could have made it to a 70 millimeter screening of 2001 here in Seattle, and for one reason or another, I couldn't. I'm kind of kicking myself for that. It's kind of why I'm really thinking about this, Barry Lyndon. Like, all right, I think I need to carve out 3 hours. It's on my bucket list to see 2001, Clockwork Orange, and The Shining in the theater. I'll pass on Full Metal.
And the bucket list.
Full Metal Jacket is fine and like I have a lot of appreciation for Full Metal Jacket. I do not need to sit in a movie theater and watch that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing like a button-umathon day or two of really slamming through 2001. I don't know if I necessarily want to see Clockwork Orange in a theater. I would be an experience, but I'm not like crazy about it.
Right.
I like parts of it and elements of it, and as a whole I think it's very good, of course, but it's it doesn't draw me in the same way that 2001 does. To your point, also Barry Lyndon, I deserve to see it in its best possible situation. The Shining, obviously, I absolutely love. I'm surprised you haven't seen that one in a revival screening.
No, I haven't. And honestly, like, even though A Clockwork Orange is my favorite Stanley Kubrick film, it is also, if I had to pick one to see in like a big screen situation, like best possible, like friggin' 4K IMAX, it would probably be 2001, with my second choice probably being The Shining, because honestly, like, I have watched A Clockwork Orange on so many, I've owned it on VHS. I've never had the Laserdisc, but VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and it's one where I do feel like it would be an experience to see it in the theater. I don't know that I would see it any differently, whereas I feel like seeing 2001, like, I'm thinking about the like just the huge screen, not even like the IMAX screens, but just like the biggest movie houses you could find.
Right.
And that sound.
So bringing things back to Killer's Kiss.
Yes.
And your first time perhaps seeing it in the early days of Netflix, it's also entirely possible that you saw it because I believe it was included as a special feature on the DVD for The Killing. Like, I think that the entire movie of Killer's Kiss was also just kind of included. So it's possible that you saw it that way.
I wonder.
Because it's only just a little over an hour long. It's not a big one.
I think I remember, I don't know, I feel like I remember, like, I have a visual memory of the envelope with the label and like the Killer, unless it was The Killing / Killer's Kiss, but I'm pretty sure I have that. I don't know. It's in there.
The Killing was definitely the first one that like really caught people's attention, and like you said, it's his first Hollywood movie. It is shot and takes place in Los Angeles, whereas Killer's Kiss is very New York, as I'm sure Fear and Desire is. I've never seen Fear and Desire, but it's Killer's Kiss. For me, and I watched The Killing not too long ago, and I think that the only reason why one of the main reasons why we aren't covering it for this episode of the podcast, as we are going through the alphabet forwards and backwards and we are on our next K movie, is just that, like, we've been doing a few, like, heisty, crimey movies, whereas, Killer's Kiss is a more isolated story.
You also get the bonus,
even though there's we get the alliteration, but also there isn't necessarily a major focus on the crimes being committed in it, although there are plenty of crimes. But instead it is a more simple story.
Right.
The Killing is actually a fairly complicated story.
It's a fairly complicated story, and it's very influential on a lot of movies to come. I mean, Reservoir Dogs is probably the first that comes to mind.
Absolutely.
But others. Just looking at Fear and Desire. So Fear and Desire is an anti-war film, and it's set during war, right? Because I remember there being like some like forest scenes. It's an hour and 10 minutes long. And actually the cast, so Frank Silvera is in it.
Who was in Killer's Kiss. He's Regino Rapallo. Rapallo.
Yeah. He's Rapallo. And you know also Paul Mazursky.
Who's Paul Mazursky?
Paul Mazursky, writer, producer. I'm trying to think of something he did other than Scenes from a Mall. But Paul Mazursky, Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. He did that.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote I Love You, Alice B. Toklas with Kubrick, two-time Kubrick collaborator Peter Sellers.
Right.
So Mazursky.
Okay. Yeah,
Mazursky has a history as an actor, a director, etc. He's in Carlito's Way.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Killer's Kiss. Why don't you do a little synopsis?
Yeah.
I'm sure that this is one that, like, if you are watching this podcast or listening to it, either you are just a subscriber to the podcast, in which we appreciate very, very much, or you are somebody who, is a fan of the movie or a fan of Kubrick and just likes to kind of hear takes and, fresh thoughts about the director's, catalog. So we appreciate everybody who's listening, but I feel like there's more likely a chance that people haven't seen this movie.
Right.
And we will also do our best not to spoil it, which I don't think that's so much of a risk for this one.
Yeah, no, especially compared to more complex films in Kubrick's filmography.
Yeah.
It's a straightforward noir from the era of.
This is one that's not to be watched necessarily for the plot, but it's to be watched more so that you could see where this director really started to develop his style. And of course, he was a still photographer for quite a while before this, but you're seeing so much happening that even you weren't seeing in Fear and Desire that's happening in this movie, where you're just like, oh, okay, this guy's onto something visually. And
there are aspects, and then I'll get into the synopsis. We'll come back to it, but there were scenes that's recalled other specific scenes in later Kubrick movies. So here's the plot.
Well, let's hear a synopsis. Yeah.
After his most recent loss, New York City boxer Davy Gordon is set to travel home to Seattle to work on a horse farm owned and operated by his uncle and arthritic aunt. But after he's woken by a scream coming from his neighbor's apartment, Davy rushes to comfort her, leading to a new friendship that is destined for romance. Davy's neighbor, Gloria, works as a dancer at a gentleman's dance hall run by the sleazy Mr. Rapallo, essentially an escort for men looking to slow dance. The inciting scream was due to her boss's unwanted late-night advances, and Davy's comfort was exactly what she needed. Davy and Gloria quickly decide to leave their lives in New York and leave for Seattle together after packing up their tiny apartments, collecting their final pay. But when Rapallo catches wind, he stops at nothing to intimidate Davy and keep him from taking away the object of his affection. As Mr. Vincent Rapallo, we have the aforementioned Frank Silvera. We have Jamie Smith playing Davy Gordon and Irene Kane as Gloria Price. So, John, what did you think of this movie?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was a little unsure if it was going to grab my attention, but I felt captivated the entire time. And even when it started to get a little slow, like when Gloria's giving this backstory about her sister and everything, that's when it really slows down. And I was just like, well, I know this movie's not that much longer, so I may as well, may as well stay focused. This all can't be that long. So, I mean, it's really tight. There's so many.
It's
really
1/3 of
cool
a Barry Lyndon, I think.
yeah,
Sorry
right.
to interrupt.
I wonder if you average the durations of all of Kubrick's movie, if they average out to like a normal movie's duration, because you've got these like shorties at the beginning and then the longies at the end. Anyway, I really enjoyed watching the movie. I felt like the actors did a fine job. There was a lot of interesting stuff going on, and as somebody who's seen, so much of his later work and knowing like what's to come from this director, I really appreciated the little things that he was doing that were different from other movies at the time, and also understanding that like this was all done like I said before, really scrappy. He shot everything, he edited everything. He like didn't have permits, he stole shots. Like he, just made it because he's filming in Times Square.
Oh, yeah.
Which, granted, it's not M&M store Times Square at that time, but like, it's certainly not easy to film in those locations without a permit, and he was able to get away with a lot. And also, like, there, and we'll talk more about this soon, I'm sure, but like, so many shots towards the end of I don't know if it's Brooklyn or the Bronx, but like these kind of like these empty New York streets and rooftops, and there's this quietness about it that we're so used to seeing New York just being so active and loud, and we're seeing this version of New York that's like totally different and very like isolated. I mean, granted, the end really takes place in more industrial parts that are now, I mean, you wouldn't be able to afford even the smallest apartment there.
The Brooklyn. So yeah, a lot of it is shot in the Brooklyn waterfront. So yeah, the quote unquote rundown streets of the Brooklyn waterfront. In fact, I feel like there was, oh no, never mind. That's another movie I was thinking about that was shot in Brooklyn. I was watching Summer of Sam recently, and there was something where I was like, oh, I think that's near where our brother's wedding was. I recognize that. And then the other area where Kubrick shot for this was Soho, which was then called Hell's 100 Acres. It was not the fashionable celebrity shopping that area that it is now. So yeah, so if you want to see what New York looked like not like 75 80 years ago,
the mid 50s.
Math.
Yeah. No. We're not here to do math. But it's so much fun to see this different world that we're just so not used to seeing anymore. And culminating in a really awesome fight sequence that this movie's, I mean, we can talk about like where the setting of it, because this is kind of a well-known part of it, but like it takes place in like a mannequin factory.
And that, if you watch that sequence, and anyone out there who's going to go watch this movie for the first time, if you have seen, I would say especially A Clockwork Orange and The Shining. Yeah. It like in this, I was watching this scene. It was like, he does that in this movie. I was like, wow, I could see where he does a version of this in that. That was really that's one of those sequences where you can really see where he's going as a filmmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's almost like you're rewarded by, watching this movie until the end, because it builds and builds and builds, and it gets more and more interesting. And also the whole setting at the beginning, where it's this boxer, he lives in this tiny, crappy studio apartment. I don't even think there's a bathroom in his apartment, and he has a window that directly faces this woman's, mirror image apartment, essentially. And that whole visual is really compelling. They don't know each other yet, but they've seen each other through their windows, and that's a really cool device that he's using. And I thought that Jamie Smith, who's Davey, was really good.
He's great.
I buy him, and I like that. Like, I don't know him from anything else, because it makes me buy it even more. And then like Irene Kane, I'm not familiar with her other work. I know she's done a lot more, but I'm just not familiar with it. And
I'd buy her in this role.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. I look at her and I'm like, yep, this is she is the person that as she's revealing more of her backstory, and she's very genuine. I do. Wow, I had a couple of thoughts there. First of all, I definitely got the sense watching it that Davy is is part of the blueprint, the DNA for, I'm sure other characters, but Butch in Pulp Fiction, Bruce Willis's character.
Yeah.
The past his prime
Right.
boxer who's like, this is what I do because this is all I know to do. And he's looking to get away. He's looking to get out of town. And then he's going to try to, steal from this, gangster. So you get the sense where, I mean, it's called Pulp Fiction. It is, not making any, not pretending to not be taking from film noir.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. And oh shoot, what was there? Man, there was something else.
Well, I was talking about their apartments. The
weird. This is just a weird, funny coincidence, and it's not giving anything away. But I recently, so like around the same time I rewatched Killer's Kiss, I also checked out the last Scream movie, Scream 6.
Okay.
Just because I was like, you know what? I kind of like lost track of them after I think I'd caught Scream 4, but I didn't see 5 or 6, and I actually heard they were pretty good. And
I think I saw 6.
It's the one in New York, and there's a very similar relationship between the two characters that are neighbors, and they like live across from each other.
Okay.
I mean, you would remember if you saw the movie, you'd remember it because she starts, it's the Melissa Barrera character who starts she kind of starts seeing this guy, they call him cute guy from across the way, but it was so funny because it was like some of the same like shots of them seeing each other.
Oh, funny.
And I was like, I don't know if this is conscious because it's not necessarily like it's not like one would say, oh, they're doing Killer's Kiss.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, the atmosphere of it, the mood of it. Can we also call out the awesome like rear projection shot that they always have the boxing manager standing in front of?
So that was also interesting because the very first time that we see the manager, he's on the phone and he's in this boxing gym, and it's just like, oh, that's so clearly, rear projection. And then there's another shot where he's like interacting with the boxers there and then walks up to the phone. And I'm like, wait a second, is this not rear projection? Like, is this actually set up this way? Like,
definitely still rear projection.
But it was done so well. It kind of just like messed with me for a second.
Well, there was one scene where it might have been that same scene where he goes and he's on the phone, and then he hangs up the phone and he turns to go walk back towards the boxing ring, and I'm like, well, let's see. Yep, they cut.
Well, it's not that part. It is later on when Davey calls him to get his payment.
Yeah.
Because first we see the manager like interacting with the boxers, and then the phone rings
do the boxers
and he walks
exit off camera left?
I don't remember exactly, but it was like, it definitely messed with me because I was so sure that the other one was like, completely rear projection. Yeah. This was like the same exact shot.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of messed with me a little bit. That's all.
Right. But it's also like, he's financing this, I think like, he got, some family to help finance. Let's see. Oh yeah. His uncle, he borrowed $40,000 from his uncle who owned a chain of drugstores in Los Angeles. This is from Wikipedia. But I of course remembered that. I wrote a paper, I remember in 10th grade, we had an assignment. It was just like, you just write a paper about like a topic. And now that I think about it, now that like I'm an English language arts teacher, I'm like, this is the most vague, like I don't remember any parameters, but I remember I wrote it about Stanley Kubrick, and I think you had to like read a book. Maybe it was like, you had to like get a book about, maybe it was a biography report or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, but it sounds familiar from that. Yeah. Oh, and it looks like so Kubrick's first wife was also a part of
She-
this movie? Is she the
she
dancer?
played the dancer. She was the sister, Gloria's sister.
Yeah, and I
does the
didn't
dance
realize
sequence.
that was. I always associate Kubrick with Christiane Kubrick,
Right.
who was his wife from like not long after this.
Yeah.
And up till his death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Killer's Kiss also. I was thinking a lot about what was going on just with filmmaking at the time, and with Gloria's profession, we can say. I was wondering if that was like a production code concession where it was like, oh well, she can't be a sex worker, so because of censorship and everything, so she works at this dance club, and it's kind of like, but everybody knows that this is representing a brothel or something like that, because it seems like way too shameful for her, and way too sleazy for her boss, for it to really just be like a simple dance hall.
It would almost definitely be because I think that like the Hays Code was in effect by 1955. And
I think so, yeah.
You couldn't. I really don't think that you could have a character be a sex worker and not have some type like negative consequence,
right,
from it. And I guess spoiler alert. I don't know.
Well, I don't
Did
think
I
that
just-
we need to sound a
Okay.
spoiler alert.
I mean, well, yeah,
Yeah.
it might be too late, but yeah. So I think that was part of the rule, where it's like if you had a character who was a sex worker, they either like died, or like they either got sick, or there was no there you couldn't get the idea across that like it was an option. It was a reasonable option for someone, or that somebody might say might eventually leave that work for something else when they don't want or need to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent of how a villain in a movie is not allowed to be using an iPhone. Only good guys are allowed to use iPhones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you know what to look for in a movie, you can assume what's going to be happening later on based on what's going on. So like during the Hays Code era, if somebody was a sex worker, then something bad is going to be happening to them. And then if you are watching a movie now, if you see that a character is using an iPhone, you know that they're not a bad guy.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I remember. I remember hearing that about the iPhone thing before. That's funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's weird. And I remember, I know, I don't remember if it came up or not. It was a couple episodes back, but when we talked about Matchstick Men, something about the smoking, that all of the cons in it smoked.
Okay.
Like anyone, if you saw them smoking, it was an indication that they were in on the con, or that they were a con person. Because I think Bruce McGill's character smokes.
Yeah,
I don't remember if Bruce.
I didn't remember that Sam Rockwell's character was a smoker, but
I don't think
sure.
it came up. But anyway,
Yeah.
One more thing. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, but Killer's Kiss. What I love about Killer's Kiss too is that it is such a it's just such like a genre, and I'm not an expert in noir. It's a genre that like I feel like is really cool, but I've never really delved into that deeply. But I think Killer's Kiss is just a great example of that, not Hollywood noir, but like that, I don't know, more that grittier, like independent film noir, which I mean, The Killing is more Hollywood noir.
Totally, yeah. No, it's a caper.
Yeah.
There's lots of layers, and there's deception and stuff.
It's also sunnier because California.
Because California, and Killer's Kiss, it's really a story about people who are trying to get out of bad situations, and the lives that are kind of keeping them, or that are holding them back from finding that kind of quiet in their life. And I mean, less so for Davy. I mean, he has this safety net of this horse ranch that he's going to in Seattle. And which, I mean, you are a Seattle resident. I know that you've got horse ranches just all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
oh no, I totally like. That's why
ranch.
I can't do a super long episode of this, because I can only leave the stable unattended for that long. For so long.
It's absolutely true.
No,
yeah.
That's a kind of a staple of Seattle. No, it is not. It is not. And especially in the 1950s, there probably was more, but not up until not too long ago, there was a horse farm so I live in an area of Seattle called West Seattle, which is interesting because it's part of the city, but it definitely is like the suburbs. And there was at some point, I want to say, we've lived here for 9.5 years, and in that time, and I think it closed down, I think that it was sold, there was a horse farm in West Seattle. And you don't have to go too far. There are areas outside of Seattle. Now, if you're going to, if you're making a, film in 1955 and you need to throw out a place that people are just going to say like, okay, wow, that's out there,
Right.
You don't need to say, Maple Valley or Bellingham or whatever else. Like, you just say Seattle.
Yeah. No, and I'm sure that the one that was in West Seattle closed because the former boxer that was working there, had to retire at some point, or perhaps his wife had arthritis and needed to care for her.
As happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so at the beginning of the movie, we hear kind of a voiceover of Davy's uncle, who had written him a letter, which they also speak on the phone. So I like that they're also letter writers and phone talkers.
He's got a good relationship there with his uncle.
Delightful relationship with the uncle. And but I was just tickled by the fact that he made sure to mention, like, and the wife's arthritis is doing better, so that's good. And then it's just like, you should consider, coming out to Seattle and working on the horse farm. And then, like, right after this next fight, he's like, well, that didn't go great. Guess I'm going to Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
that's why I left New York.
Simpler time.
That's why I moved to Seattle from New York. Yeah,
exactly.
I lost the last fight, and it was, I think there's still a horse farm out there. So
yeah, I know. There's some hay that needs baling. So Dan, I do have to say, like, I did watch there's a few people online who have done, little reviews and stuff of this, and I feel like it gets a lot of flack because I feel like it's being compared a lot to the rest of Stanley Kubrick's work and not looked at contextually as, an evolution of a filmmaker and like, I don't know, an element or like a fossil of like, something that is just like, this makes so much more sense now because, great artists don't just come out of the gate being great artists. They have to start somewhere. And in a movie like this, which is a simple movie, you really do see a lot of those things that make so much sense for this director, who would, of course, go on to become just one of the absolute greats. And I love it for that.
I agree with you. And let me say this to anybody out there who's going to try, who's looking at, first of all, like, opinions are not wrong, but it's also, you're looking at this. So he makes this movie and he borrows, like, he makes it for certainly under $1 million, borrows $40,000 to make it from his uncle. 20 years later. Now put it in perspective. It is 2025. 20 years ago was 2005. So if you are of an age similar to that of John and myself, think about that 20 years. Stanley Kubrick went from this, and then within the next 20 years invented a new way of filming for Barry Lyndon, innovated new lenses so he could shoot scenes by candlelight for the authenticity factor of Barry Lyndon. Wait, you know what? Yeah, 20 years, that's true. You could do a lot in 20 years. Well, you know what? It only takes him 13 years to revolutionize special effects and blast us into space. It takes him 9 years to create one of the most influential satires of and war films of all time.
Yep.
So, you know what? Like, yeah. Look at this movie and say, man, once this guy got some resources behind him, and the more he got, once he had a friggin' blank check from Warner Brothers, it was like, great, I'm going to go off here. I'm going to meet with these people. I'm going to invent this lens. I'm going to build a fucking hotel to make The Shining in, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to spend like 5 years making a movie with like the biggest movie star on the planet, two of the biggest movie stars on the planet.
Yeah,
Nicole
essentially
Kidman.
kind of like holding them hostage from their lives.
People coming and going.
for
Harvey
such a long time.
Keitel tags in Sidney Pollack to play the friend.
Right.
Kubrick doesn't like flying. He doesn't want to shoot in New York, so he rebuilds Soho and the West Village in England. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. And when you look at Killer's Kiss and you're like, and you think about the money and the resources that he had to make this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're going to be critical of it, watch The Killing.
Yeah.
Compare those two. And then watch Paths of Glory.
Right.
Compare those two. He is making incremental steps, and each step of the way he is gaining more and more credibility and financial backing and also and powerful allies. Kirk Douglas.
Right.
Kirk Douglas champions him, brings him in on Spartacus.
Spartacus, yeah.
Or Sporadicus to honor Clueless on its 30th anniversary.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. I love Stanley Kubrick.
I know you do. Yeah. So you're not alone in loving Stanley Kubrick.
I know.
And no, I'm not saying like that's a weird take.
I mean, also not everybody. Yeah, and also like I could totally. I also, it's not like Stanley Kubrick is one of those directors where I'm like, how can you not like Stanley Kubrick? I totally get it.
No, I mean, I think that easily one of the more interesting directors in history, especially when you consider his involvement in conspiracy theories. That's like legend status in and of itself.
Then we got to throw out a mention for the documentary Room 237, which
there's that as well.
Digs in deep and it really, like, you watch that movie and then watch The Shining again.
No, he's somebody who just like gets you thinking and maybe even sets you off on paths that do not lead you to glory, but perhaps are just like wild goose chases, essentially. So I do want to mention that in 1983, there was a movie called Stranger's Kiss. That is all. Have you ever seen Stranger's Kiss?
No, I have not.
I haven't seen it. It looks terrible, but it is a story that's about the making of Killer's Kiss. And I don't think that there's much that's factually accurate about it, but it is, it's just all about the making of this movie. But I think that it's all fictional. I don't think that there's anything that's actually based in the reality of the lives of like Jamie Smith or Irene Kane, or Stanley Kubrick. Aside from the fact that I think that the director character, whose name is Stanley, they don't say Kubrick, but I think that they model a lot of the who's Peter Coyote. He's modeling a lot after kind of the legend of Stanley Kubrick, who was, around at the time. I would love to have heard Kubrick's thoughts on Stranger's Kiss, if he even gave it the time of day.
Oh, I doubt it. I mean, right off the bat, just from reading a very brief plot synopsis here,
Yeah.
This feels maybe inspired, but not about.
It's about the making of a movie, and the two leads in it who are playing the boxer and the ingenue or whatever, I don't know if her character was, if it's a 1-to-1 of their characters in Killer's Kiss,
right?
But it's about their off-screen romance, which I don't remember reading anything about Jamie Smith and Irene Kane having an off-screen romance. But it's also about Irene Kane, or the character that she would be in Stranger's Kiss, having a domineering boyfriend or husband or something who's older, and it's kind of like a Vincent Rapallo like character. So it's like kind of mimicking the story of Killer's Kiss.
It's a remake of Killer's Kiss about the making of Killer's Kiss.
Yeah, really strange. And
that's it. Sorry, Matthew Chapman, you got it. That is what you do with Killer's Kiss. You make a remake and make it about the making of the movie. Matthew Chapman, you are the Ruined Childhoods champion.
Yeah, I guess so. And honestly, I feel like the thing that is honored the most in this version, which I've only seen clips from in the trailer and everything, but I feel like the only thing that like really captures the essence of Killer's Kiss is the fact that it was made on like no budget and is done really scrappily.
Oh.
However, it looks like garbage compared to the 1955 movie, which looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and just to give you some background on the, writer-director of Stranger's Kiss, Matthew Chapman is the great-great-grandson of Charles Darwin.
Whoa. Okay, here's something interesting.
So speaking of evolution, no, go ahead.
Okay, so when I was in college, I was actually, this is a very rare thing for me, but I was acting in a friend's film, who was a film major at Temple University, where I went, and she was making this film. I was in it. I played a villain. I did not use an iPhone. They did not exist at the time. It was also set not in modern day. Anyway, we were filming at this one house, and I don't know how we were connected with this, but it was like outside of Philadelphia somewhere in a, very like woodsy area, and it was this like beautiful house, and there was a very large painting in it of Charles Darwin. And what I found out is that the people who lived there were descendants of Charles Darwin. Well, I mean, like through one of the, the man or the woman who lived there, one of them was a descendant of Charles Darwin. So
interesting.
How about that?
And a relative of Matthew Chapman, writer-director of Stranger's Kiss.
Perhaps.
Which now I'm actually, man, I wasn't really that interested in seeing it, but thinking about it now, I'm like, might have to check that out if I ever have the opportunity.
I mean, it looks like crap, but I mean, just for the purpose of, I don't know, completing the story, it might be worth checking out. It's not streaming anywhere. No. It's not available for purchase anywhere, but who knows?
This would be a Netflix DVD.
This
rental.
maybe not. I don't know. I don't think that this really even cut through, but who knows? But Dan, I don't know. How would you do it differently?
How would I do it differently? Man, I got nothing on Stranger's Kiss. I was thinking, I was imagining this movie with like as a I don't know if there's a novelization of it. Of course, if you've listened to the podcast before, you may know about this depending on the episode you've listened to. If you haven't, John is building a collection of movie tie-in novelizations. So these are novels that are written based on the screenplay for a film, not the other way around. It's
Correct.
very strict. And this is maybe the only one of Kubrick's movies. I actually know Fear and Desire as well.
Fear and Desire.
But
I know where you're going with
after
this.
I think everything he did was based on something. I think even The Killing was based on
Lionel White, Clean Break by Lionel White. And 2001: A Space Odyssey was co-written with Arthur C. Clarke.
He was writing didn't Arthur C. Clarke write the novel while they were writing the screenplay or something like that? Or
I don't know, but that could be.
I mean, I think I remember it was on A Clockwork Orange that there were scenes that they just did out of the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, not the whole thing. But getting back to Killer's Kiss, it would be fun to see a line of adaptations of these noir movies that are a little maybe further under the radar, like this, a DOA, Kiss of Death, which I know was remade in the 90s. But to see those with really great pulp novel covers, Stephen King a couple of years ago did a bunch of novellas that had those great dime store novel covers.
I love it.
So I feel like that would be fun. Now, also you could do a reissue, and I know I think Kino Lorber did a deep blue 4K of Killer's Kiss.
Okay.
I think there was one. But to see those issued with that type of cover, and to see a kind of a line of this type of movie reissued with some, special features, get some film historians in there. I mean, if you could still find anybody who was involved in the production that's living, great. Get whatever is existing out there, throw it into a nice little package and give it that that great cover. That's fun to look at and nice to display. Similarly, another idea I was thinking of that could work, and this movie is an hour and 10 minutes, if that. And an anthology series of hour-long episodes where maybe each one focuses on it, kind of these are the tales of the city, where you take an apartment building in right. And forgive me if I suggested something like this when we talked about Rear Window, however long ago that was, but an anthology series where each episode focuses on a different residence. It also kind of sounds not only murders in the building. This would what I would want this to be is a noir series, set in the 1950s, shot by I would love for this to be, a kind of a filmmaker's genre playground to come in and say I would really love to make a short noir film, and it's something that could allow even a more accomplished filmmaker, along with up and coming filmmakers, and TV is you could build your resume so well and make art, quality art.
Right.
But damn it, I'd love to see a Steven Soderbergh or Ridley Scott directed episode.
Okay, but here's how you do it: is that it's kind of like Tales from the Crypt, but instead of the crypt keeper, it's an arthritic ant working on a horse farm.
Just in a rocking.
She's the one that's introducing the stories,
and it's a Seattle horse farm. So every episode opens with her going, "I can tell rain's coming on." the arthritis is acting up, or you live.
Yeah,
in
there's just a
Seattle.
Seahawks game on the TV in the background,
She's
and there's
wearing
a horse there.
number 12 jersey. It's in the 19. Or you know what though? Maybe she's present day, and she's talking about back in, except I don't know. I feel like it should be about this like it should take place in. And maybe if you do a different season, like if you do different seasons, you could switch cities because, we also know, I think of Mulholland Drive, among others, but like LA is a great noir city. And also when you think about all of those, like in the 50s and 60s, all the bungalows and all the Hollywood wannabes, I think of even before that, like A Day of the Locust, is another movie that has, all the interesting people who live in these different, little homes.
Right.
So so I think, that can have a lot of legs, there, you go to different cities each season.
Well, speaking of a lot of legs, let me tell you my idea.
Wow.
It's the story of a mannequin maker living in New York City. And it's the story of how he has his first big client and he has to make them 200 mannequins. And he's working really hard and he's slaving away in his warehouse in Brooklyn by the waterfront. And then as he's finishing his final 200th mannequin, these two randos bust into his place and start fighting each other with the mannequins.
And then in the aftermath of that, he's trying to fix it and he doesn't know what he's going to do when all of a sudden he feels a hand on his shoulder and one of the mannequins has come to life because of an Egyptian curse.
Kim Cattrall?
Yes. Because the very obviously Egyptian Kim
Cattrall. We can build mannequins together. I love it. Believe me, any opportunity that there is to somehow cross over a Stanley Kubrick 1950s thriller with Hollywood Montrose, we're cooking with gas.
It's a mannequin prequel and Killer's Kiss spinoff all in one.
There you go. It's beautiful.
I guess it wouldn't be. I guess this version it would be like Hollywood's, Parent, probably, considering the ages. Brooklyn Montrose.
Yeah, I guess it could be like Brooklyn Soho or something like that.
Soho Montrose, except it wasn't Soho then. So no.
Well, I guess maybe it's like Houston, like Brooklyn Houston or something like that.
I don't. We'll leave that to. I don't know. We'll fix it in post.
We'll leave that to AI or whoever's going to be developing.
Yes,
this,
I will ask
ChatGPT
what is the answer here, and then ChatGPT will break.
Yeah, we will have fixed everything because we broke artificial intelligence.
Humans. Only the human creativity that can meld the film noir stylings of Stanley Kubrick with the 80s cheeseball fantasy comedy of Mannequin. That is the type of humanity that will keep us surviving.
For the amount of times that we've brought up Mannequin before even covering Mannequin, that's pretty impressive.
We're still going to have so much ground to cover when we do.
I know. Absolutely.
We know it won't be this season because we have past
we've done our M movies
back and forth. So anyway, John, so anything else to add before we share where we're going next?
All I have to add is that I want to thank everybody for watching this on YouTube or Spotify or for listening on your preferred podcasting platform. And by all means, if you haven't already, follow, subscribe, whatever.
Recommend
leave us a comment, leave us a review on all the things. Tell your friends, tell your arthritic aunt, tell her horses. Tell them all because it really helps us when people give us feedback and also leave reviews, be they good or bad. We prefer the good ones, of course. And just subscribing to the show really does a lot for us. This is an ad-free show. We do this for free. We're coming up on episode 300, people.
My request is if you're going to leave a bad review, make it good. Make it a good bad review.
Yeah.
Like don't just half-ass it. Like really go all the way.
Please. Yeah. But we love hearing from you no matter what.
Yes.
It's really fun to do this show.
We do.
And
We love
this
it.
is episode 297 and episode 300. I don't know what we're going to do for our H episode, but it's got to be something special for 300.
The H is going to be 300. I mean, I know I know what I want us to do. I don't know if it's going to happen. So,
ooh, okay.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, it's, all right. I have to think again because it is going to be episode 300. It needs to be special. I do think that what I have in mind could qualify. We'll talk.
We will talk.
The rest of you will find out soon enough.
Why don't you tell everybody what we're doing for our J episode?
Our J episode. Okay. Well, things have been getting a little too serious around here. And so we are going to talk about The Jerk from 1979, directed by Carl Reiner, starring Steve Martin, Bernadette Peters, and Jackie Mason. And of course, the dog Shithead.
Yes.
Again, we love Steve Martin. It'll be a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned Only Murders in the Building. So it's kind of like, that's where things led to. And this is kind of around where they're starting off. They started off before this, but first starring role for Steve Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. And iconic, classic movie. Can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, as you are on the train headed to Seattle to care for some horses and your arthritic aunt, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.